You're listening to Raiding the Fringe with Poda, Ostinius, Nepids, and Dr. Lee. From ancient civilizations to the cutting edge of science, from exploring the outer reaches of space to the Atlantean depths, we discuss the topics of the unknown and the possibilities of the bizarre. Are you hungry to expand your horizons? Come get your fill as we raid the Fringe.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Raiding the Fringe. I'm Ostinius, and with me, as always, is Poda.
What's up?
Nep.
Good evening.
Dr. Lee.
Hello again.
All right, today our topic is weather and weather control. Harp, do you believe it's a thing? Conspiracy? Or, let's riff about it.
It's always the evil plan from the James Bond films and stuff. Yes, I have a machine to control the weather, and I will tear down this world unless you pay me $1 million.
Simpsons did it. Yeah, it's always like that super evil plan to take over the world is to control the weather. First off, does anybody believe in the manipulation of weather?
Well, it's actually fact to a small degree.
Okay.
They've been tinkering with it since like the 1950s. I mean, we got Indians with their rain dances. Go back even further, and you can dispute whether that's real or not. But they've done experiments with cloud seeding to where they can actually control rainfall. And it has been proven to help. Like, it's not a complete control. So as far as verifiable goes, yes, they put silver iodide. They basically crop dust it onto a cloud because there has to be vapor to start with. And it seeds it, and it produces more rainfall than normal. They've been using it. A government out in Abu Dhabi had started the research on it and actually annually cloud seed their clouds to get rain because of the heavy droughts they'd been having, and it has alleviated a lot of their water.
Now, it's not a cure-all or anything. It's more like a nudge in the right direction is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if they don't have clouds, well, we're boned today.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Okay.
They can't make clouds.
No. There was this guy that claimed that he could create or dissipate clouds with a device called a cloud buster. Yeah, Wilhelm Reich was his name. They even did a music video about him and his son, and Donald Sutherland was in the music video. It was in the 80s, called Cloudbuster. And it's this cloud-busting machine. It looks kind of like a Gatling gun. It's got a whole bunch of tubes tied together and a hose at the end, and you put the hose into water or some sort of base and just point it at the clouds, and it's supposed to harness the orgone. He believed
he believed,
yeah, he believed in the idea that like the universe is bound with this anti-entropy force, like the Force, where the universe is one, blah blah blah, and he believed that these tubes would siphon the energy out of the air to alter the weather, and he believed in it so much, and he kept doing experiments. He was blamed for a couple of rainstorms that they couldn't prove, and he started making small devices and medicines for people, saying that this will help improve your life because it absorbs orgone or whatever, and the FDA shut him down, and he kept going anyway, so they arrested him and destroyed all of his stuff except for a couple of the cloudbusters.
So they still exist?
Yeah.
The government has them, yes.
The government sequestered them away?
Mm-hmm.
All right, go into depth about that, Poda.
But the government, I can't do that. I'm not allowed.
No, I mean, what would they do having these cloudbusters hidden away? I mean, what would be the purpose?
Military purposes, I would think if you're going to control weather, like you have the benefits of crops and, stuff like that, but I would think there'd be more akin to controlling weather and natural phenomenon for military actions and purposes. It's like, oh, this country that we're not cool with suddenly just had a massive earthquake.
Ooh. Yeah, Lee.
They did that in Vietnam.
Oh.
It was Operation Popeye. No, blow me down. Okay. No. No, but it was during their monsoon seasons. They would go, and that's where a lot of our cloud seeding started, as we dumped it year after year on them to improve their monsoons, to make it rain more, so that way they'd get mudslides, they get muddy roads. The whole idea was to prevent warfare by making it so they couldn't fight.
Yeah, that really backfired. Tunnels and guerrilla warfare and stuff, it was a horrible thing for everybody.
It was, but the cloud seeding did work. And consequently, there is actually in the Geneva contract a spot where you are not allowed to use weather-altering stuff in warfare anymore.
Oh, they're verified. It's 100% real. HARP is actual.
What is HARP supposed to even stand for?
HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. It is a real facility in Alaska, and they have nothing to do with the weather specifically. What they really do is they studied the ionosphere. That's basically the layer where the ions react heavily to radio waves and such. It's what gives us our communication. And they're doing research in the ionosphere to help improve the ability to carry radio waves and stuff to help improve communication. And it was founded by the Navy and the Air Force combined, and they let it go to shit. They didn't handle it very well, and it got shut down in 2013. The University of Alaska picked it back up, and it is currently still active. They've been blamed for rainstorms, and lots of theorists want to say that they're controlling the world with weather, and we don't know about it, and maybe not, maybe, I don't know. But officially, they're just studying the layer responsible for radio transmissions and such. They do have a beam, an ionized beam that they shoot into the atmosphere to alter the atmosphere, to aggravate the natural causes so they could study it instead of waiting for a storm to come. So they do have a bit of control there. And currently, through them and through DARPA, they're trying to figure out if there is a way that they could use this technology to counteract global warming, to ionize and reflect a lot of the sun's radiation.
Cancel out greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. See, when you first said warfare, I thought, like, what, some psychological warfare? Like, ooh, we're going to make it really foggy, so when these guys come out of the fog, these enemies are really scared.
I know, we're just going to use lightning bolts on the entire town.
We got a ray gun that makes tornadoes.
Now, that's the kind of cool stuff. That's the fun part of it.
What about you, Nep? How do you feel about weather control?
I agree with some of the people that commented on our website on Facebook that we can barely even predict the weather, so how are we actually going to control it?
Well, that's the whole reason to want to control it. It's because you can't predict it.
Yeah, you want to make it more predictable. That's the purpose of control.
I'm just saying, if we can't even predict it, how can we even control it?
That's true. But we are getting very good at predicting it.
Well, that's true. Well, people like HARP, I guess, that are studying it to realize what changes in the ionosphere need to happen to make...
No, I was just thinking there's no way it's HARP that's controlling the weather, because everyone knows it would have to be from an outside force. It's satellites in space and unknown spaceships.
Why would it have to be somebody outside in space?
Because it's too noticeable here on Earth. Like HARP, everyone knows, watches it, pays attention to it. If there was really a machine to control and manipulate the weather to control our planet, or for personal gain financially, I would think the system would be in space.
Like, would it take a space station or a space
like a Star Wars program where where somewhere up there we've got space stations that are devoted to doing that? It'd still have to be localized though, right? We wouldn't be able to affect anything globally.
No, with a network of satellites. I mean, there's so much space debris in our atmosphere at this point
That's what we're told.
You got tons of...
That's it. We need to send convicts up there with those little pikes, and they can clean up our satellite areas.
Those little jetpacks. Let them work. Let them live.
I think it'd be really dangerous to control and actively try to manipulate the weather. Because how would you know the complete ramifications, no matter how many models you ran or how many equations you did with, like Nep said, how unpredictable it really is? how could you really know what you're going to do?
Well, that's the question. Some people have enough hubris that they would just assume that once they have part of the answer, they've got the whole answer, and they'd try it. There are people out there that would jump on a reckless chance like that.
I don't know. You think about it also, like Lee's saying, take away that factor of will it work or will it not work. I mean, if you already know like the silver
iodide.
Yes, that already works on somewhat of a cloud as long as there's moisture there. Well, a jet engine could make a cloud. That's what those streams are, not chemtrails like people think. And so what if they had hooked up this thing to put the silver iodide as they're forming the clouds to make little streaks of rainy days? You know what I mean?
It's funny that you bring up the jet stream chemical thing. That's what it looks like when they see the cloud. Sometimes it's a chemical stream.
Like crop dusting.
Yeah, like the crop dusting, that kind of thing. When they see the cloud, it could very well look like one of those jet streams. So, another form of control, though, is to get rid of storms. It's not very weapon-tastic, but everyone's trying to figure out how to get rid of hurricanes and typhoons so we don't have this annual problem coming in from the Atlantic.
Right. You got to put the backspin on it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting really powerful. Let's blow it to the left.
Yeah,
blow it to the right.
You use too much wrist. No, there's this company invented Dino Gel. It's a polymer, but it's a powder, and it's made it can absorb 1,500 times its own volume in water. And so they suggested dumping it onto a hurricane and just having it soak up the hurricane, and by the time it hits the ocean floor, it dissolves.
Yeah, but I mean, the hurricane is by wind. It's not just the water.
Right, but the wind.
And then we've got an ocean full of dino gel.
But the wind is powered through the air pressure and everything created because of the water pressure in the air and everything. So, if you remove the fuel, you remove the storm, or at least lessen it. And they ran a test, and it proved to work. And it was amazing.
What?
But I
can see it blowing around a bunch of fucking wet globs of Dynagel.
No, they didn't. They
just
didn't
made this way times worse.
They're not dumb enough to try it over a live hurricane or whatever. They did it over a giant thunderstorm on the coast, and videotaped the storm going away. And it was amazing. And then again, the government swept in, shut them down, put out a statement saying that ecologically, you couldn't afford to do this more than once. It's not feasible, and the results you got were not typical, and that kind of stuff. Just discrediting it. So that's another example of the government swooping in, saying it doesn't work.
Isn't that crazy how the government could just do that?
No.
I'll talk against the government.
As far as this discussion goes on topic, I'm down for discussing it. But bottom line, I think it's unwise to try to manipulate or control the natural currents of the earth, be it wind, water. Like those natural, what are they called? Like highways in the air and under the ocean. Because I think they can cause some real detrimental problems. Like, could the earth even itself back out eventually? Yeah, but in the meantime, I'm here. I don't want to see the process, really. But with that technology of atmospheric and terraforming, the whole discussion on colonizing Mars seems really feasible if this technology is 100% and you can reorder the atmosphere and climate of the planet.
Well, that would give us interest, especially in, terraforming or something like Mars, if that ever came to it, producing a viable atmosphere and being able to, kind of control that, which is an awesome implication. But, I do think that we shouldn't stop storms. Storms are a necessary evil upon the land, as it were.
Well, yeah, but if we get another Katrina, someone would be happy if we had the ability to dissipate it.
Well, lots of people would be happy, I'm sure. But there's also population control and things like that happen with storms that, again, a necessary evil.
There's also the backlash that Poto was talking about. If we were able to remove that hurricane, what would that do to nature's weather patterns? Would it create a bigger one later just because we did that and we wouldn't even know? Butterfly effect.
Superstorm.
That's what you were talking about?
Yeah, something along that line. And if we're talking about population control, well, if the government has the control to control weather,
then they've got the control to control population, migration, and everything.
Oh, we've already got we can control population. I mean, I think atom bombs proved that very well.
It's a bit drastic, but effective.
Okay, so let's say you had the power to control the weather. You personally, you yourself, you found the secret ray gun. Yeah, what would you do with it, Nep?
Probably nothing.
You would do anything with it?
No. I mean, like,
You'd destroy the technology.
I guess I'd be like the government. Doesn't work. Hide it away. It's no longer needed. Your findings are wrong.
But you can't tell me if somebody pissed you off. You're like, oh yeah, you're gonna get an ice storm on your house.
I mean, it'd look kind of weird with one person in the middle of summer having an ice storm, but
Yeah, I would.
I'd rent out my services. I'd capitalize on it like a mofo.
Oh, you have a garden? Well, allow me to.
I can make it rain for you. You want to shoot this movie? I can remove the rain for you for a day.
There you go.
I would not sell myself to government agencies for warfare. I'm not going to pummel a third world country with lightning bolts, to help a war. I wouldn't do that.
Now, what if it was the other way around? There was a war started between two countries, and you had the power to stop it using your weather stuff. Hey,
Oh, hell yeah.
you little bitches, quit fighting! Fucking Zeusing it up.
Oh, you made a nice social gray area right there. But, I mean, you have to take each case personally. I like to research the sides before I do something. But, yeah, generally, if I could stop a war with it, I would. Grab each country by the scruff of the neck and say, hey, you two calm down now. Sit in your corners.
Yeah. Fundamentally speaking. Yeah.
If you don't want a drought, you're going to sit there until you two can work this out.
You don't want a drought. You got to work it out.
Let me not have to start talking like this just because I can control the weather.
Well, then you could pick a spot somewhere, like in the desert. What happens if you try to create your own oasis or something? Who knows what kind of weird things could be in the desert that are just so dormant because it's so droughty. You know what I mean? In other places.
Oh, revitalize some life form that we didn't know was there.
Yeah.
Just because it was stranded in the middle of what became a desert.
Yeah. And it lies dormant or something like that and could be revitalized.
Like Tremors.
Well, yeah, yeah, maybe a creature, but I mean, I was more talking about, flora and fauna. Well, fauna, not fauna, flora.
Well, flora's cool.
Well, and with that, it would draw other creatures, make your own little weird habitat. What if there was a jungle in the middle of the desert?
Wow. I would suspect that it would actually draw all the little creatures and, that have to scavenge for water anyway. You've created a place where they could find water. You're basically setting up a beacon saying, hey, all wild animals, come attack me. Come take my water.
But would it be
from
like
me.
a vicious jungle? I mean, jungles are pretty vicious as is. But would it be like this insane battle royale jungle where everybody's fighting for everything?
Well, if it's only an acre, it'd be rough. How big would you make that jungle? How much would you want to alter?
I don't know. Enough that you would say it's isolated.
Wait. So this is more than just
Isolated.
weather, though, right? Because if you're going to make a jungle, you need to bring in the seeds and the trees and all that crap. Otherwise, you just got wet desert.
Well, I guess that's true. But that's what I'm saying. What if it started something?
You talked me into this, and now I got an acre and a half of mud. But if you had done that long enough that it persisted and it grew, and you happen to be like the great-grandson who's still caretaker of this acre.
I'm the caretaker of the mud pits of the Serengeti.
I'm the acre taker.
The
Mud
under
farmer.
acre taker. The under caretaker.
The under acre?
The caretaker,
Caretaker.
the acre undertaker.
Caretaker. Sounds like a country singer.
Sounds like a character.
Oh,
Nope. Anything to add?
no.
You don't want to speculate on anything far-fetched?
I mean, if you do that in a desert area, it was an ocean at one time.
That's what I'm saying. There could be things that would be revitalized if...
I think it would take a substantial amount of time, more than our lifetime, to create something of that stature,
that's true.
create change like that.
Yeah.
So the best you would do is probably create something that happens along the Nile. You'd be able to give more abundance of life in certain areas, and it would take a long time, but within our lifetime we could create an oasis, but not anything like a jungle or a huge habitat for unearthed or hibernating creatures.
Right.
Yeah, we're looking at probably like a little gas station town that doesn't happen to have worries about water.
It'd be more along the lines of just
An
people.
oasis.
You would draw people instead of animals.
Well, most people settle around water sources anyway.
All right, but besides water, there's also temperature. What if you found a nice isolated spot in the tundra up in, northern ends of Canada or Alaska or something where the weather was warm enough and you made that type of oasis?
See, that would become a vacation destination. The Canucks would be like, hey, look at this over here. I got a little island breeze.
No, your area is still warm. The breeze coming in is still ice cold.
Yeah, but if you're standing in one
we call
spot,
it
you get
Nippleville.
sweaty. Yeah, you stand in one spot, you get sweaty. That cold breeze probably feels pretty good. Well, I was bitching about this a minute ago.
Your Canadian accent cracks me up. Oh, gee golly.
Oh, what's this all about?
But, I mean, there's great potential for damage and great potential for help. I mean, if you could, the starving people in Africa or whatever, if you can give them enough rain that they could grow their own food and that kind of stuff.
Or even for like little settlements like that, make little areas where there is, enough rainfall for them to have their own sort of gardens and become more self-sustaining.
Yeah. There are certain studies that theorize that the same thing that does the cloud seeding also cleans the air. Like they've been crop dusting over the Rockies for a long time now with it to try to help reduce smog and pollution from the cities.
Yeah, can't we set our snow on fire now?
Not without chemicals, I wouldn't think.
I meant the snow we have now with all the pollution in the air. The snow we get is not 100% safe to eat anymore off the ground, which it really wasn't 100% before, but not as safe now.
I don't think it's the point.
You can hold a lighter to it; it doesn't melt; it kind of turns black.
I don't think we're to that point yet. Maybe if you found an isolated spot, but even here in the Midwest, where the acid rain is the worst anywhere, it's still not toxic to be out in it. So
I forgot about acid rain.
Oh man, acid rain's awful, and the Midwest, right over here, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, it's the strongest concentration of acid rain on this hemisphere.
That blows.
At least it's not real
It's
acid.
not acid. Yeah, it's not.
I mean,
sulfuric acid.
It's acidic rain, but yeah, you don't have to have silicone roofs just to protect yourselves.
Right.
Fake boob tops.
So what does filter the air?
Silicone is
naturally?
for a lot more than fake boobs.
What does filter the air naturally?
Trees.
Is that it?
Pretty much. That's.
Ocean. Well,
Through the water, the rain itself helps clean the air because it pulls it out of the air and throws it back down to the ground, whatever can cling to the rain. Which is why we've got acid rain, is because it is the rain
so
trying to
super
purify
polluted.
the air, and then rain itself is purified through evaporation.
That's true. Yeah.
So no matter how much we poison the sky, it's all going to come back down to we're poisoning the earth.
So our message is clean up after yourselves, you filthy humans.
yeah, do it.
Be nice to Mother Nature, or she'll kick our butts.
Well, what other notes you got over here, Dr. Lee?
That covered pretty much all the stuff that I wanted to mention.
Well, we mentioned something, and you're like, "Oh, well, talking about that."
I know. I jumped all over that. Well,
you were very prepared for this episode.
I looked into this stuff, and I found it quite interesting. I'm going to, in fact, even after this, I'm going to look more into the life of Wilhelm Reich, because after making that Cloudbuster and being arrested for it,
What did you say it was? Orgons?
yeah, orgones.
Orgone.
No, yeah, the orgone is basically the organic ozone, if you think about it that way. He coined the term, but it has the same meaning as the force, or just the chakras of the all-encompassing life essence of the universe guiding us towards what we are.
It's weird how these just seldom people have invented these crazy.
Yeah, he started a whole academy. He's got, and it's, as far as I know, it's still running today, of people who have believed and researched this one powerful life force that controls everything. He started off psychologically, using it for psychology purposes, for explaining why. He worked with Freud a little bit, and he was trying to explain why they were getting the psychoses that Freud was finding out about. And then he took that further and said, no, this influences the weather too. This is a universal truth. And so,
just some old kook.
I mean, I came upon him while we were talking about weather, and I'm interested. I'm going to see what else this guy has to say, kooky or not, because it can make for a pretty good read.
Very interesting.
If we can control the weather, why are we even worried about spaceships coming down or extraterrestrials in our airspace? If we can control the weather to fuck up their ships,
We don't know
unless
that
they are government ships.
See, there's the thing, is hiding information. Because if we don't know that we can control the weather, and we don't know about UFOs, that's two unknowns, and now we're twice as afraid. I bet you, if there is a specific government organization that can control the weather and knows they can, and they know how to weaponize it, although they may be holding back for, social implications or whatever, we get attacked by aliens, they will pull that shit out and nail them.
Yeah, okay, so we wouldn't even know that would work at all anyway, because, if they can travel light years away or whatever, and they can reach our Earth, their ships are advanced enough that they could pass through a little rugged atmosphere. I mean, especially if they live on one of these constant storm planets like Jupiter or something like that.
Oh, that's true.
A little bit of lightning and wind is not going to be like,
That's assuming.
Boy, get that airship out of here.
It doesn't mean we wouldn't try. I mean, look at every single movie you've ever seen. After they shoot the alien 12 times, they still shoot that 13th bullet, hoping that one will work.
That's true. No, there's one little fighter jet that's hoping to get his Death Star moment.
Yeah.
But okay, the implications are pretty vast, and it's a very intriguing subject. But we're going to answer one of Lee's questions.
Sorry to interject again.
No.
But here's another aspect that we kind of glazed over up to this point, and that is the whole belief system with the weather. Because we did have the Indians.
I believe in the weather.
You know what? I do too. I look outside and I don't see it, but I know it's there. That's faith. But rain dances, where they believed that they could do their spiritual dance to control the weather. And then there's the X-Men. What about Storm?
Storm could control the weather. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she could.
She could.
She could lightning bolt somebody.
Do you think there are people out there that can do this and aren't getting credit?
Without any sort of technological means?
Right, not technologically speaking, but have some sort of connection with the weather that they can actually control their atmosphere.
I don't know. Rain dances, they didn't just continue doing them for years and years because of nothing. I don't know. Maybe they're like shooting the alien ship. They just keep, maybe one day. But they did it until it worked.
In all of our major U.S. wars, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, lots of smaller skirmishes, after every single major battle, it rained. Every time. And so there's one area of the U.S. that believes that firing weapons will create rain, and have the ceremony where they shoot cannons without fodder just to shoot them off to create rain.
Well, rain dances, part of it was the beat of their feet on the earth.
Right. It's like a modern day rain dance.
So would that be like shuffling your feet across the carpet for a static shock? Because lightning goes up, not down.
You know what?
It's true.
Static electricity is related to lightning. I mean, it's on a very small scale, but it is basically the same thing. You are controlling the weather on a microscopic scale. You have just created lightning.
You shock an ant, he's going to believe it's the finger of God.
So there.
Yeah.
You can. It's proven right now through reason.
Proven through speculation.
You can control the weather on a small scale, and if you put your mind to it, you can do it on a much bigger small scale.
Yeah.
We just need 10,000 balloons and a really big-ass sweater, and we're going to shock your country.
You're in for it, buddy. We need a giant hammer to create earthquakes. That's how Thor does it, right?
Yep, the giant hammer for earthquakes. We got the balloon and sweaters for lightning. 32 pounds of chili. Create a windstorm.
Okay. But whether this is all highly speculated, except for the small amount of facts that we do have or have been misled to believe are facts. Yeah, that's weather in a nutshell. So thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful week. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any thoughts or questions on today's topic, please leave a comment. Or if you want to contact us directly with any thoughts or ideas for future episodes, you can directly email us at ratingthefringe@brainforger.com. Be sure to like, follow, and or subscribe for future episodes on Facebook, Spotify, Libsyn, or most podcast suppliers. We'll see you next time as we raid the Fringe.